Hey guys, it's DaNelle from Weed'em and Reap, and today we're going to learn how to fill a raised garden bed. Now this is really important because a lot of people will go buy potting soil and just throw it in their raised garden bed and call it good. But what you'll end up doing is wasting a lot of water and not getting nutrients to your plants. So today I'm going to share with you the best soil combination so that you can grow green, luscious plants and enjoy them as long as your planting season is. So the first mistake that people make is they usually just put potting soil directly into the bed and then they try to just plant in that bed. And the problem with that is potting soil tends to drain. It doesn't really hold a lot of water. And so if you live in a drier area, you're going to notice that your plants don't do very well. So I'm going to show you what you would do to kind of remedy that situation. So I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so if you're in a desert area, it's perfect for you. If you aren't and you are in a more humid environment, you can still use just potting soil, but you're going to need to add other amendments that I'll talk about later in the video. So stick with me. So some people do is they will put a piece of wood on the bottom of their raised garden bed, but that's actually not a very good idea because we want the worms to come up from their ground. So if you have gophers or ground squirrels or something that you're afraid is going to come dig up underneath, you can lay down some chicken wire if you want. But what I like to do first is I like to lay down some cardboard boxes because that will help kind of stop any weed growth or grass growth, and the worms actually love the cardboard. They love to eat it. So it'll actually help bring in worms. As that gets wet, it'll be great. The first thing that I put in the bottom of my raised garden boxes is actually native soil. I put just straight clay, which is what is native to this area, and it looks like this. So the reason I like to put a couple inches of the native dirt on the bottom of my boxes is that there's a reason why your dirt is the way it is. If your dirt has clay, like ours does, you're probably in an area where the climate is drier and the clay's purpose is to retain moisture and not drain all the water away. If you're in an area where it tends to be humid and wet, you'll probably have more sandy soil. So I think at the very bottom of the box, just a couple inches, it's important to put your native soil because it will regulate that draining on the bottom. So if it needs to drain out the bottom, it will. If it doesn't, it'll kind of hold it in there with the clay. Make sense? So just a few inches of whatever native soil you have in your yard. Now that we've put the native soil at the bottom of our boxes, the next thing that we're going to add is this Garden Time potting soil. You see that? So this potting soil is going to go in the bottom half of the box because we don't really want to put all of our good stuff at the top and start mixing in all these other amendments. We really just want to put the very basic growing medium on the bottom because the plant roots are only going to go down about 10 to 12 inches. It's not really important for us to put all these really great expensive amendments on the bottom. So just remember the first half of the box, you just put a little bit of native soil and then you're going to fill up the rest of that half with potting soil. Alright, so now we're going to layer the next thing on the top half of our boxes. So remember the bottom half of our boxes just have a little bit of native soil and then we have some potting soil. See that? It's just filled up to that first level all down the row. Now the top half is going to have a bunch of amendments to the soil that are going to help it really stay nice and rich and provide lots of nutrients. The first thing we're going to add is this coconut coir. So coconut coir is a great growing medium because what it does is it helps retain moisture, and when it retains moisture, that means it'll help retain nutrients. So if me living in the Phoenix area, knowing that we have dry summers and we're a very dry climate, if I were to just plant in this potting soil, that would be kind of a disaster, honestly, because I would waste a lot of water because the water would run down, and while this potting soil is really great composted material, it isn't very great at retaining moisture. So that is the purpose of the coconut coir. We're going to add a layer of this. Yay, so now comes the fun part. We're going to add some nutrients to the soil. A few things we're gonna add are my 3 favorite amendments. We've got, let's start over here. We've got earthworm castings. Now these provide lots of nitrogen and other nutrients. They also attract worms. And then we've got this mycorrhizal fungi, which helps your plants develop really strong roots. See? Natural root enhancer. And then we've got this azomite. Azomite is just basically rock dust, but it provides a lot of minerals and trace elements that are really not in our soil anymore. And so by putting these 3 things in there, remember we already put the potting soil, we put the coconut coir next, and now we're going to add a little bit of fun amendments to it. Now we're going to repeat that cycle again and again until we get as high as we want the dirt to go. So it goes potting soil, coconut coir, and then the 3 amendments, which are worm castings, mycorrhizal fungi, and the rock dust or azomite. Okay, we are finished. Look at that great soil. Look how rich that is. All down the row. And the very last thing that I like to do is the first time that I water it, watch out, is I like to water it with fish emulsion. So this is a fish fertilizer, and I put just about a half a cup in this 5-gallon bucket, and we're gonna dump this all across in our raised garden bed to help provide even more nutrients. Oh. Yum.
What's this, chocolate? I think I'm gonna take a